Hello, my name is Steve Gearhart, and this is the Unagi Observer. This week is a little discussion for the newbies out there about OVAs. My first week at my new job was a bit intense, so I can only do a short video this week. Now, for you newbies, let me briefly explain what an OVA is and why it's important. OVA is simply short for Original Video Animation, but it means a lot more than that. Up until about 1983, anime was either broadcasted on Japanese television with rerun rights in America, or is shown on the screen at movie theaters if the anime was a movie. Anime before OVAs had to follow television broadcast regulations. That meant the editors would have to cut back on the violence and sexual scenes so that the anime could be aired on television. If the anime was a movie, the regulations had to fit a ratings guideline, but what that meant was that if the anime was overly violent or sexual, then something like an X rating would be given to it, which would severely limit who could see it. OVAs changed that. OVAs were anime that were straight to video or Laserdisc and later on DVDs. There are no ratings or regulations on an OVA, so it can be as visually violent or sexual as the anime creators want it to be. The only restriction would be sales between nations, where some nations might have bans on such types of animation. Also, because it was never intended to be broadcasted, there are no commercials. This also made an OVA episode somewhat shorter than a broadcast anime. And the anime that is widely believed to be the very first OVA was Dallos. Unlike so many anime out there, Dallos is not based on any manga. It is a straight-up animation. It derives some influences from the historical movie Battle for Algiers and the science fiction novel called The Moon is a Harsh Mistress. The plot of Dallos is pretty straightforward. Basically, Earth has used up all of its resources, so Earth sent up a whole bunch of workers to the moon to live there and to mine the moon for materials so that those on Earth could survive. After a generation or so, the workers on the moon became actual slaves of those on Earth. Once they had enough, though, some groups on the moon committed acts of sabotage which would ultimately turn into terrorism. That lasted until finally they decided to wage an outright war for independence from Earth. So the rebels started converting their worksuits into battlesuits, or kind of like makeshift mecha, and they started battling the Earth forces for freedom. They took their inspiration from a base on the moon that kind of sort of looks like a face, and they called it Dallos. Of the many things that the anime Dallos is credited with, it is also credited with the death scenes that are often shown at anime conventions, particularly at anime death panels. The animation for Dallos is okay. It's about par for most anime made in the 1980s, which was good for that time, but really doesn't hold up today. But it made a point. It was originally supposed to be a TV series, but it was canceled in pre-production. When Bandai took their turn at it, they gave it a somewhat bigger budget, which now most OVAs have. And they decided at that time to ride the wave of the new VHS revolution and ignore broadcast regulations so that more people would buy their product. And it worked. Bandai made some good money on their investment and started cranking out more OVAs and creating an industry standard. That's it for this week. Hopefully things in my new job will settle down some and I can make videos that are a little bit longer. Until then, my name is Steve Gearhart. This is the Unagi Observer, and as always, thank you so much for watching.